I watched my son get cake thrown in his face by a woman who thought money made her better than everyone else. What she didn't know. I was about to make the biggest business decision of my life. And she just made it very, very easy. My name is Haley. I'm 52 years old. And I run the biggest tech company you've never heard of. But before I tell you how one slice of chocolate cake cost someone $4 billion, let me take you back to where this all started. 3 hours earlier, I was sitting in my office on the 40th floor, looking down at the city. My phone buzzed. It was my son Michael. Mom, I got the catering job for the Henderson party tonight. The big one at their mansion. I'm so nervous. Michael is 28. Smart as a whip. Has 2 degrees from Harvard. But he loves cooking. Always has. Since he was 5 years old, standing on a chair in our kitchen, making pancakes that looked like dinosaurs. After his dad left us when Michael was 7, cooking became his happy place. Mine too, watching him create magic with flour and sugar. You'll do great, honey, I told him. Just be yourself. I didn't tell him about the Henderson deal. How could I? For 6 months, my company had been negotiating the biggest merger in our history. $4 billion. With Henderson Industries. Victoria Henderson. 34 years old. Blonde hair, perfect teeth. Daddy's money. She inherited everything when her father died 2 years ago. Smart woman, I'll give her that. Ruthless too. But Michael didn't need to know any of this. He was just excited about his first big catering gig. I'll be there at 6 to set up, he said. Wish me luck. I smiled. You don't need luck. You've got skill. Fast forward to 8 p.m. I'm at the Henderson mansion for what I thought was just a business dinner. Fancy cars in the driveway. Men in expensive suits. Women dripping in diamonds. I walked in wearing my best black dress. Simple. Elegant. I didn't need to show off. The mansion was huge. Marble floors. Crystal chandeliers. Art that cost more than most people's houses. And there in the corner was my son. He was behind a long table covered with the most beautiful desserts I'd ever seen. Cakes that looked like sculptures. Cookies shaped like flowers. Everything perfect. Michael was in his element. Smiling. Talking to guests. Explaining how he made each dessert. His eyes were bright with pride. My heart swelled watching him. That's when Victoria Henderson walked over to his table. She was wearing a white dress that probably cost more than my car. Her hair was pulled back in a tight bun. She looked like ice. Beautiful, cold ice. Excuse me, she said to Michael. Her voice was sharp. This cake is too sweet. Michael's smile flickered. I'm sorry to hear that. Which cake are you referring to? She pointed to a chocolate masterpiece. 3 layers. Gold decorations. It had taken him 4 hours to make. This one. It's disgusting. How much sugar did you put in this thing? Michael's face went red. I followed the recipe exactly. Perhaps you'd prefer something else? I have. Perhaps you should learn how to bake properly, Victoria cut him off. The room started to get quiet. People were turning to look. Victoria picked up a fork. She cut a big piece of the chocolate cake. You know what? She said, her voice getting louder. Maybe you should taste your own cooking. And then she did it. She threw that piece of cake right in my son's face. Chocolate frosting splattered across his cheek. His white chef's jacket was ruined. His eyes went wide with shock. The entire room went silent. Victoria laughed. A cold, cruel laugh that made my blood boil. Next time, maybe stick to flipping burgers, she said. Leave the real cooking to people who know what they're doing. Michael just stood there. Cake dripping down his face. His hands shaking. He didn't say a word. Just grabbed a napkin and started wiping his face. But I saw it. That look in his eyes. The same look he had when his father walked out. When kids at school made fun of his old shoes. When the world tried to make him feel small. That's when something inside me broke. Or maybe it was something that finally snapped into place. I walked across that room. My heels clicked on the marble floor. Every step felt like thunder. Victoria was still laughing with her friends when I tapped her on the shoulder. She turned around. Yes. I'm Sarah Mitchell, I said quietly. Michael's mother. Her face didn't change. And I wanted to thank you. She looked confused. Thank me? Yes. You just made the easiest business decision of my life. Now she looked worried. I'm sorry, do we know each other? I smiled. Not a nice smile. We've been in meetings for 6 months. My company, Mitchell Tech, was about to merge with Henderson Industries. $4 billion. The color drained from her face. Was? She whispered. That's right. Was. Past tense. Because you see, Victoria, I've spent 30 years building my company from nothing. I know talent when I see it. I know character when I see it. And I know trash when I see it. The room was dead silent now. Everyone was staring at us. My son has more class in his little finger than you have in your entire body, I continued. He creates beauty. He brings joy. He treats people with respect. Things money can't buy. Victoria's mouth opened and closed like a fish. You want to know something funny? I said. That cake you threw in his face? He spent 4 hours making it perfect. He used Belgian chocolate that costs more per pound than some people make in a day. He handmade those gold decorations. Every detail was planned. I stepped closer to her. Just like every detail of our merger was planned. The contracts. The stock transfers. The board meetings. All leading to tonight. Victoria's hands were shaking now. Sarah, please, I didn't know. Oh, but you did know. You knew exactly what you were doing. You saw a young black man trying to make an honest living, and you decided to humiliate him. Because you could. Because you have money. I pulled out my phone. Excuse me, everyone, I said loud enough for the whole room to hear. I need to make a quick call. I dialed my lawyer's number. He answered on the first ring. Tom? It's Sarah. Kill the Henderson deal. All of it. Tonight. Sarah, are you sure? That's $4 billion. I'm sure. Send the cancellation papers first thing in the morning. And Tom? Make sure they know why. I hung up. Victoria's face had gone from white to green. Sarah, please, we can work this out. I'll apologize. You'll do nothing, I said. Because this isn't about you anymore. This is about something bigger. I turned to face the room full of people. Rich people. Powerful people. People who thought money made them untouchable. You want to know what real power looks like? I said. It's not throwing cake at someone you think is beneath you. It's walking away from $4 billion because your principles matter more than your profit. I walked back to Michael. He was still cleaning cake off his jacket. Come on, son, I said. Let's go home. He looked at me with tears in his eyes. Mom, I'm so sorry. I ruined everything. You didn't ruin anything, baby. You just showed me what matters most. As we walked toward the door, Victoria grabbed my arm. Sarah, please. My company needs this deal. My father built Henderson Industries from nothing. Just like you built your company. You can't destroy his legacy because of one mistake. I stopped. Turned to look at her. Your father built something beautiful, I said. And you just destroyed it with a piece of cake. We walked out into the night air. Michael was quiet until we got to my car. Mom, what just happened in there? I looked at my son. This amazing young man who had turned his pain into passion. Who created beauty even when the world tried to tear him down. Justice happened, I said. And you know what the best part is? What? Tomorrow morning, I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. He looked confused. What kind of offer? I smiled. How would you like to be the head chef at the most exclusive restaurant in the city? Because as of tomorrow, Mitchell Tech is buying the Grand View Hotel. And I need someone I trust to run their restaurant. Michael's eyes went wide. Mom, are you serious? Dead serious. That cake you made tonight? It was perfect. Just like you. He started crying then. Happy tears this time. But what about Victoria? What about her company? I looked back at the mansion. Victoria was standing in the doorway, watching us drive away. Victoria will learn something tonight that her father never taught her, I said. Money can't buy you character. And without character you have nothing. 3 months later, I got a call from Victoria. Her company was filing for bankruptcy. The failed merger had triggered a clause in their loan agreements. They were losing everything. "Sarah," she said, her voice broken. "I know I don't deserve it, but could we meet? Just to talk." Against my better judgment, I agreed. We met at Michael's restaurant. The Grand View had become the hottest dining spot in the city. 3-month waiting list. Michael's chocolate cake was their signature dessert. Victoria looked different. Thinner. Tired. Her perfect hair was a mess. "I wanted to apologize," she said. "Not for business reasons. For human reasons." I sat across from her, waiting. "I've lost everything," she continued. "My company. My house. Most of my friends. But you know what hurts the most?" "What?" "Knowing that I became everything I used to hate. My father taught me to respect people. To treat everyone with dignity. Somewhere along the way, I forgot that." She looked up at me with tears in her eyes. "Your son didn't deserve what I did to him. And you didn't deserve to lose a $4 billion deal because I'm a terrible person." I studied her face. Looking for lies. Looking for tricks. But all I saw was regret. "You're right," I said. "Michael didn't deserve that. And neither did I." Victoria nodded, looking down at her hands. "But you know what?" I continued. "Sometimes the most expensive lessons are the most valuable ones." She looked up at me. "I didn't lose a $4 billion deal," I said. "I dodged a bullet. Because anyone who would treat my son like that would have treated my employees the same way. My customers. My partners. You would have destroyed everything I built from the inside." Victoria's face crumpled. "You're right. And you know what else?" I said. "You didn't lose everything. You lost your money. You lost your company. But you found something more important." "What's that?" "Your conscience. It took you 3 months, but you found it." Just then, Michael walked over to our table. He was wearing his chef's whites, looking confident and happy. "Mom, how's everything? Can I get you ladies anything?" Victoria looked up at him, her face full of shame. "Michael," she said quietly, "I owe you an apology. What I did to you that night was unforgivable." Michael looked at her for a long moment. Then he smiled. "Would you like to try our chocolate cake?" he said. "It's made with Belgian chocolate. Takes 4 hours to make. But it's worth the wait." Victoria started crying then. Real tears. Not the fake ones rich people cry when they don't get their way. "I would love that," she whispered. Michael walked away to get the cake. Victoria looked at me. "How did you raise such an amazing son?" I thought about it for a moment. "I taught him that how you treat people says everything about who you are. That respect isn't something you buy. It's something you earn. And that sometimes, the biggest victories come from the smallest acts of kindness." Michael came back with 2 slices of his famous chocolate cake. Victoria took a bite. Her eyes closed. A smile spread across her face. "This is perfect," she said. "This is the most perfect thing I've ever tasted." Michael beamed with pride. "Thank you," Victoria said to him. "For the cake. And for the lesson." After she left, Michael sat down next to me. "Mom, do you think she's really changed?" I watched Victoria walk away through the restaurant window. She stopped to talk to our hostess, smiling and shaking her hand. Then she left a tip that was probably more than the hostess made in a week. "You know what, son?" I said. "I think maybe she has. Are you glad you walked away from the deal?" I looked around the restaurant. Families laughing over dinner. Couples sharing dessert. Servers who loved their jobs because they were treated with respect. "Best $4 billion I never spent," I said. Michael laughed. "You know what's funny? That night, when she threw the cake at me, I thought my life was over. And now I realize it was just beginning." I squeezed his hand. Sometimes the worst things that happen to us lead to the best things that could happen to us. 6 months later, Michael's restaurant was featured on the cover of Food and Wine magazine. The headline read, "From Humiliation to Triumph, the chef who changed everything." Victoria called me that day. "Sarah, I saw the magazine. I'm so proud of Michael. And I wanted you to know something." "What's that?" "I started a non-profit. It's called Second Chances. We help small business owners who've lost everything get back on their feet. We give them loans, training, support. That's wonderful, Victoria. I named Michael as our first success story. Even though we didn't help him directly, he inspired the whole thing. What happened that night? It changed everything. I smiled. He'll be honored to hear that. Sarah. Yes. Thank you. For walking away. For choosing your son over money. For teaching me what really matters. After I hung up, I sat in my office, looking out at the city again. The same view I'd had for 15 years. But everything looked different now. My company was still growing. We'd found better merger partners. People who shared our values. Who understood that how you treat people matters more than how much money you make. Michael was thriving. Not just as a chef but as a man. Confident. Happy. Proud of who he was. And Victoria? She was rebuilding her life from the ground up. Not with Daddy's money this time. With her own hands. Her own heart. That night, I went to Michael's restaurant for dinner. He made me his special chocolate cake. The same recipe from that terrible night at the Henderson mansion. Mom, he said as I took the first bite. Do you ever regret what happened? I looked at my son. This beautiful, talented, kind-hearted man who had turned his pain into purpose. Never, I said. Not for 1 second. Why? Because that cake didn't just cost Victoria $4 billion, I said. It taught us both what we're really worth. And what's that? I smiled. Everything. Remember, success isn't measured by how much money you make. It's measured by how much love you give. How much respect you show. How much dignity you preserve. Sometimes the most expensive lessons are the most valuable ones. And sometimes, walking away is the most powerful thing you can do.